Before moving on to add more materials, we need to set the lighting first in our scene so we can see and experiment with our materials better. But before we do that, let's set up the resolution and the camera first. As we mentioned before, to set the resolution of our rendering, we can go to Render Setup, and in the Common tab, change the output width size to 1000 pixels and height to 600 pixels. This will make our renderings more wide angle. Now, notice in the perspective viewport, the size of it is not really representing our rendering output size. To fix this, we can go to the second title of the viewport and turn on this Show Save Frame option. We will see the scene in this viewport is clipped and should have accurate proportion with our rendering result. To create a camera in 3ds Max, simply go to the Create panel, Camera, and click this Target Camera and click drag from this point to this point. The first click will be our camera position and the last point will be our camera target position. Now this is obviously very low camera as it placed on the floor. To set this up, first select the camera and place it on X 87 cm, Y minus 570 cm, and Z 100 cm. For the target object, set this to X minus 65 cm, Y 400 cm, and Z 130 cm. To see from the camera point of view, set this perspective title to Cameras, then choose Camera 001. Now we're seeing as how the camera is seeing our scene. Notice how close our camera to our objects. This is due to the FOV setting of our camera. So select the camera. We can use this method to select the camera object. Now that it's selected, we can see in here we have FOV setting. FOV stands for Field of View. Basically, it determines how wide the angles of the camera. Set this to 60. Now we're seeing our scene with wider angle. In photography, this value is usually tied to the lens millimeter value. But the nice thing about CG is that we can set the FOV directly with angle degrees. The angle is now good, but as we can see, now these vertical lines of wallpapers and sofa edges are not straight. Of course, this is normal in real world because we have the perspective effect on the camera that is not straight horizontal. But here is the good thing about CG again. We can straighten these vertical lines by adding a special camera modifier called Camera Correction. To do that, while the camera is still selected, click on the modifiers menu in here, Cameras, Camera Correction, and magically our vertical lines are now straightened up. Now let's add Corona Sun and Sky. Go to the Create panel, choose Lights and Corona Sun. Now that our perspective viewport already used by the camera, we can click the left viewport and change it to perspective. Choose Shaded in here. Zoom out a little and let's create the Corona Sun in here. Set the rotation to 130 degrees and the angle to 30 degrees. To automatically add the skylight, simply click this Add Corona Sky Environment button. Now that is done, when we hit render, you will see something strange. What we see in here is actually the wallpaper from the outside of the room. Now this is very common in GI rendering engine that all of the surfaces will render as double-sided and turn off their backface cooling effect. To fix this, first we select the polygon in that wall section. Detach it and name it Wall Hidden. Then we need to add a UVW map modifier and set this again to box type with 70 cm value for each of the dimension, just like the rest of the wall. We need to add this UVW map so this wall will look normal when appear in reflections, just to play safe. Okay, now the last important step to make this hidden is to go to the object properties. Then uncheck this visible to camera option. Now this option will make our hidden wall invisible when seen from the camera, but still visible inside reflection or refraction and casting shadows as objects normally do. Now if we hit the render button, we can start to see our room lit by the sunlight. To make our rendering even faster, we can select the window glass object and go to Object Properties and turn off the Receive Shadows and Cast Shadows. Now the glass will be ignored by the lighting system but will still produce reflection. Of course, in day view, as the outside is much brighter, you will not see any reflection. But if you decide to create a night scene view later, the reflection will show.